The water slammed into my face the moment I announced my pregnancy. I stood rigid, droplets sliding down my cheeks, as my mother lowered the empty glass with a look of cold disgust. Around the dinner table, silent faces turned away, except for my husband Mike, who stared at his plate, no surprise in his eyes. 1 hour later, alone in our bathroom, I unlocked his phone with the password he thought I didn't know and found hundreds of messages, between them spanning months. My hands trembled so violently I nearly dropped the device. Mom had written, "She'll ruin everything with this baby. We need to act now." My supposedly loving husband had replied, "Don't worry. I've got the papers ready." I clutched the edge of the sink, my knuckles white, as the first contractions of panic tightened my chest. The pregnancy test lay on the counter, still positive, still real, despite their apparent plans. With one screenshot, I captured their conspiracy and sent it to my own phone, then returned Mike's device exactly where I'd found it. They thought I was blind, weak, controllable, but they'd forgotten who raised me before Mom remarried, my grandmother, who taught me that quiet dignity hides the sharpest mind. I wiped the water from my face and made my decision. I would play their game until I understood exactly what papers awaited me. The front door of our Seattle suburban home opened then closed quietly as Mike returned from his urgent work call. I was curled on the sofa with a book I wasn't reading, tracking his movements by sound. The rustle of his jacket, keys on the counter, the refrigerator opening. "You feeling any better?" he called from the kitchen with practiced concern, the same voice he used with difficult clients. "Much," I lied, matching his tone. "Just tired." He appeared in the doorway, beer in hand, studying me like I was a puzzle he needed to solve quickly. Mike was handsome in that polished way that photographed well for his real estate listings. Dark hair always styled, posture calculated to project success. "Your mom just wanted what's best for everyone," he said carefully. "The timing of this pregnancy is challenging." I kept my expression neutral. "I know. Big changes always are." He sat beside me, not too close. "We should talk about some plans. Financial arrangements. Just to be practical." "Of course." I smiled, feeling my heart pound. "Tomorrow? I'm really drained tonight." Relief crossed his face. I'd seen that look before, when a client signed without reading the fine print. "Absolutely. Get some rest." Mike kissed my forehead with cold lips and went upstairs to shower. As soon as I heard the water running, I slipped into his home office. The desk drawer where he kept important documents was locked. New security I hadn't noticed before. But Mike was predictable with passwords, our anniversary backwards. The drawer slid open. Inside, beneath routine paperwork, lay a manila folder labeled OC Medical. My fingers felt numb as I opened it. The papers detailed a psychiatric evaluation I'd never undergone, concluding I suffered from delusional disorders and recommending immediate intervention. My signature, a perfect forgery, appeared on consent forms for treatment. A separate document outlined power of attorney transferring to Mike in case of my incapacitation. They were planning to have me committed. To take my baby, my house, everything. I photographed each document with shaking hands, closed the drawer exactly as I'd found it, and returned to the sofa before the shower stopped. That night, I slept beside my enemy, breathing evenly while plotting my escape. The next morning, I called in sick to Westlake Elementary, where I taught 3rd grade. Mike left for work with his usual "feel better" and a reminder about our financial discussion that evening. As soon as his car disappeared, I drove straight to Seattle First Credit Union, where we kept our joint accounts. The teller's smile froze when I requested complete statements for the past 12 months. "Mrs. Carter, your husband usually handles these matters. He was actually just in yesterday updating account permissions. A cold not formed in my stomach." "What kind of updates?" Her discomfort was obvious. "He added your mother as a authorized consultant on all accounts. For emergencies." "I see. And my access?" She glanced at her screen. Limited withdrawals as of yesterday. For your protection, it says here. Of course, I replied evenly. Then I'd like to withdraw my protection maximum, please. The teller called her manager. After 30 minutes of uncomfortable questions, I left with $5,000, the new daily limit they'd imposed. And confirmation that Mike had systematically been moving our mutual savings into accounts under only his name for months. Next stop, my obstetrician's office. Dr. Lynn's face registered surprise when I appeared without an appointment. Olivia, is everything all right with the pregnancy? Just checking something, doctor. Has my husband or mother contacted you recently about my condition? Her hesitation told me everything. Your mother called regarding concerns about your mental health affecting prenatal decisions. I told her I couldn't discuss patients without consent forms, which I never signed. I finished. Correct. I've been your doctor for 5 years, Olivia. You've always been one of my most stable patients. I exhaled shakily. Could you put that in writing for me? Today? Dr. Lynn studied my face, then nodded. Give me 30 minutes. By noon, I had a medical statement confirming my sound mental health, $5,000 in cash, and a racing mind calculating how much time I had left before they realized I knew. When my phone rang with my brother Colin's number, I nearly didn't answer. At 24, he was the family wild card, constantly traveling for his photography career, rarely home for family events. He and Mom fought constantly. Liv, his voice was urgent when I answered. Are you alone? Can you talk? For now. Why? I just got the weirdest call from Mom about you needing special care during your pregnancy. Something feels off. The relief of having one person who wasn't part of the conspiracy brought unexpected tears. Colin, I need your help. I don't have much time. I met Colin at a coffee shop downtown, far from anywhere Mike or Mom might appear. My brother's face darkened as I showed him the screenshots and documents. Jesus Christ, Liv. How long has this been happening? I don't know. That's what terrifies me. I thought my marriage was happy. I thought Mom and I had finally found common ground. My voice caught. I don't know when I became the enemy. Colin's jaw tightened. It's about Grandma's trust fund, isn't it? The one that activates when you turn 31 or have a child. I stared at him. What trust fund? His eyes widened. You don't know? Mom never told you? Grandma left you the majority of her estate in a trust. I got a smaller portion outright when I turned 25, but you get the bulk, about $3 million, when you either turn 31 or have your first child, whichever comes first. The realization hit like another glass of water to the face. I was 30, pregnant, with my birthday 9 months away. The baby would trigger my inheritance before I turned 31. That's what this is about? Money? My voice sounded hollow. Mom's been living beyond her means since she married Richard. And from what you've told me about Mike's recent business troubles, the pieces aligned with sickening clarity. My husband's struggling real estate ventures. Mom's increasingly lavish lifestyle with her second husband. Their sudden deep interest in my well-being since I'd announced the pregnancy. I need somewhere to stay while I figure this out, I said. Colin nodded. My loft. They don't know I'm back in town. As we left the coffee shop, my phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Jen. Hey sweetie, your mom's worried sick about you. Call me ASAP. I showed Colin. Don't respond, he warned. We don't know who's involved. But I already had my answer. Jen and my mother had grown suspiciously close over the past year. Too many coincidental meetings, too many shared secrets. The betrayal circle was wider than I'd suspected. Colin's downtown loft offered safety and anonymity, a photographer's space with minimal furniture but excellent security. He gave me the bedroom while he took the couch. What's your plan? He asked as night fell, the Seattle skyline glittering outside his windows. I need to see the actual trust documents. I paced the room. Then secure my inheritance before they can interfere. Did Grandma have a separate lawyer from Mom's? The question triggered a memory, a business card I'd kept in my wallet for years. Martin Goldstein, the serious man who'd come to Grandma's funeral and given me his contact information just in case. The next morning, Collins stood guard while I called from a prepaid phone. "Mr. Goldstein? This is Olivia Carter, Catherine Reed's granddaughter." The lawyer remembered me immediately. "Miss Carter, I've been expecting your call, though I admit I thought it would come sooner." "You've been expecting me?" "Your grandmother anticipated complications. Perhaps we should meet in person." 3 hours later, seated in his downtown office, I learned the full truth. Grandma had indeed left me her fortune, with specific provisions protecting it from my mother, whom she'd never trusted after she abandoned me to pursue her second marriage. "Your grandmother raised you for 10 crucial years," Goldstein explained. "She saw your mother's pattern of exploitation and built safeguards." He slid a folder across his desk. Inside was a letter in my grandmother's handwriting, sealed and marked for Olivia when she needs clarity. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. "My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you've discovered something troubling about those closest to you. I wish I could have shielded you from this pain forever. Your mother was always talented at manipulating situations to her advantage. When she left you with me to pursue Richard, it wasn't a temporary arrangement as she claimed. She intended to abandon you permanently until she realized my fortune would follow you, not her. I've structured my estate to protect you, but I fear that won't stop her from trying to control what's rightfully yours. Be wary of anyone she brings into your life, especially romantic partners who appear too perfect. Remember the strength you showed as a child. Trust your instincts. They've always been sharper than you believe. The envelope contains a key to a safety deposit box at Northern Trust Bank. What's inside belongs only to you. All my love." Grandma, a small key fell from the envelope into my palm. I closed my fingers around it, feeling something of my grandmother's strength flow into me through this last connection. "The trust activates automatically with proof of your pregnancy," Goldstein continued. "We can file the paperwork today. Once activated, neither your husband nor mother can access it, even if they were to succeed in having you declared incompetent." "They've been planning this for months," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Maybe years. Mike, my husband, he might have married me because of this." The lawyer's expression was sympathetic but unsurprised. "Your grandmother considered that possibility. It factored into her arrangements. By afternoon, we had filed all necessary documentation. My inheritance would be secured within 48 hours, if I could stay free that long." As Goldstein walked me out, he handed me a business card. "This is Charlotte Wexler, an excellent family attorney. You'll need her for what comes next." That evening, my phone exploded with messages. "Mike," sounding increasingly desperate. "Where are you?" "Your mother and I are worried sick." My mother, alternating between guilt trips and vague threats. Texts from Jen saying she was here for me during my difficult time. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I visited Northern Trust with Goldstein's authorization letter. The safety deposit box contained documents, photographs, and a USB drive that confirmed my worst fears and more. My mother and Richard had misappropriated funds from my grandmother while managing her care during her final illness. The evidence was meticulously documented. Grandma had hired a private investigator in her final years. A separate folder contained information about Mike, including his original name, Michael Conti, which he'd changed 5 years before meeting me. Previous fraud investigations. A pattern of targeting wealthy women. Background checks showing he and my mother had known each other months before our chance meeting at a charity event. My entire reality crumbled with each page I turned. My marriage, my relationship with my mother, all carefully orchestrated deceptions. The final document was a handwritten note. "The most painful betrayals teach us who we truly are. You are stronger than all of this, my darling girl." I returned to Colin's loft with the evidence, finding him in heated conversation with our father, the only family member I hadn't considered. Dad had divorced Mom when we were small, maintaining limited contact over the years through obligatory holiday calls. His unexpected presence made me freeze in the doorway. Olivia. He stood awkwardly, looking older than I remembered. Colin called me. I came as soon as I heard. My brother interjected, I thought we needed all the allies possible. I approached cautiously. You believe what's happening? About Mom? Dad's expression held years of weary knowledge. Your mother has always been calculating. But this? Using your husband against you? I never thought she'd go this far. That night, the three of us reviewed the evidence together. Dad provided missing context from the years before their divorce, patterns of behavior I'd been too young to recognize. Colin contributed his own experiences of manipulation. For the first time, I wasn't facing the betrayal alone. They'll make their move soon, Dad warned. If your funding gets secured tomorrow, they'll be desperate. He was right. At 10 a.m. the following day, as Goldstein confirmed my trust activation, Mike filed an emergency petition for temporary guardianship, claiming I'd disappeared during a mental health crisis while pregnant. By noon, my mother gave tearful interviews to 2 local news stations about her missing pregnant daughter suffering from delusions. My school principal called Colin's phone, the only number they couldn't trace, reporting that my husband and mother had arrived with police, trying to trace my whereabouts through work. They're painting you as unstable and dangerous to yourself, Charlotte Wexler, my new attorney, explained during our emergency meeting. We need to counter immediately. How do we fight this? I asked. We go on offense, not defense, she replied. I've prepared counterfilings alleging conspiracy to commit fraud and psychological abuse. We have your doctor's current evaluation, evidence of financial maneuvering, and the communications between them. Will that be enough? With your grandmother's evidence? More than enough for an emergency protective order against both of them. The hearing occurred just 72 hours after I discovered the truth. I sat in the courtroom's front row, visibly pregnant, perfectly composed in a conservative dress, with my doctor's letter, financial records, and Charlotte beside me. The shock on Mike and my mother's faces when I walked in calm, prepared, and surrounded by support was my first victory. Their narrative collapsed under scrutiny. The judge reviewed my documentation, particularly the forged medical evaluations, with growing concern. When Charlotte presented the evidence of their financial motivations and communications planning my treatment, the mood in the courtroom shifted palpably. Your Honor, my mother interjected desperately. We were only trying to help Olivia during a difficult time. She's always been emotionally fragile, Mrs. Reed, the judge interrupted. The court has contemporary medical documentation contradicting that claim and evidence suggesting a concerning financial motivation for these proceedings. When my turn came to speak, I stood with a steadiness I didn't know I possessed. These people conspired to have me committed to gain control of my inheritance and my child. They forged medical documents. They planned to steal my future. My voice remained even. I'm not mentally ill. I'm not incompetent. I'm simply inconvenient to their plans. The judge granted my protective order and froze any further legal actions against me pending criminal investigation into the forged documents. As we exited the courtroom, Mike caught my arm. Livy, please, he whispered, his handsome face arranged in the concerned expression I once found so comforting. This is all a misunderstanding. I love you. I love our baby. I looked into his eyes, the same eyes that had lied every day of our marriage, and felt nothing but quiet resolution. No, Mike, you love what we were worth to you. I removed his hand from my arm and walked away. Outside, my mother stood waiting, her tears strategically visible to passers-by. When she saw me, she stepped forward with arms outstretched. Olivia, darling, this has all gone too far. We only wanted to protect you. I stopped before her, one hand resting on my belly where my child grew. From what, Mom? From my own money? From independence? Or from the truth about what you both planned? Her expression hardened almost imperceptibly. "You have no idea how difficult raising you alone was after your father abandoned us. Everything I've done was for this family." "No," I corrected softly. "Everything you've done was for yourself. There's a difference." I walked past her to where Colin and my father waited, ignoring her calls behind me. The weeks that followed brought both chaos and clarity. Criminal charges were filed against Mike for document forgery. My mother avoided prosecution, but not public embarrassment when details leaked to local media. The divorce proceedings began with Mike's assets frozen pending investigation. I moved into a new condo secured by my trust and reinforced by security systems, protective measures for the future I was rebuilding piece by piece. Jen tried reaching out once more, claiming ignorance of the larger scheme. The text went unanswered. Some betrayals leave no room for second chances. 3 months later, I sat in my obstetrician's office for a routine checkup, the protective order still in effect, but the immediate danger passed. "Blood pressure's perfect," Dr. Lynn smiled. "You're handling stress remarkably well." "I had good teachers in resilience," I replied, thinking of my grandmother's final gift of truth. As I left the clinic, I spotted my mother sitting in her car across the street, watching, waiting, still scheming perhaps. Our eyes met briefly through the windshield. I didn't wave or acknowledge her beyond that gaze. I simply continued walking, one hand on my growing belly, toward the future I was now free to create. The family that had shattered my trust had given me an unexpected gift, the strength to build something unbreakable from the fragments they left behind. 6 months later, I held my daughter Catherine, named for the grandmother who had protected us both from beyond the grave. Colin moved into an apartment nearby, becoming the uncle and brother he'd never had the chance to be during our fractured childhood. Even Dad maintained his hesitant presence in our lives, trying to make amends for his absence through small, consistent gestures of support. Mike accepted a plea deal to avoid prison time, vanishing afterward to reinvent himself elsewhere. My mother occasionally sent cards and gifts that remained unopened, her attempts at reconciliation meeting the natural consequence of trust destroyed. In my daughter's nursery, on a shelf above her crib, sits my grandmother's compass, no longer just a symbol, but a working instrument that had truly shown me north when I was most lost. I run my fingers along its cool metal surface, remembering the moment in court when I chose myself over their lies. My daughter stirs in her crib, eyes opening to find mine. "We're going to be just fine," I whisper, to her and to myself. And for the first time since water splashed across my face at that fateful dinner, I fully believe it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever discovered someone close wasn't who they claimed to be? How did you handle that betrayal? Was I right to cut ties completely, or should family always get second chances? Did I make the right choice in naming my daughter after my grandmother? I still struggle with whether I should allow my mother any relationship with her granddaughter. What would you do in my position? Share your experiences or advice. I'm still navigating this new reality one day at a time.